Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So we're actually going to be detailing the G80 M3. I'm actually going to break it up in a few videos. I'm not going to be too detailed where I'm going over every single step, but I'll kind of show you the process. But it is brand new. The dealer didn't do anything. They left all the plastics on, everything. So if we go around, we can actually check out the mirror. This is actually where the window sticker was. It's still got all the remnants and everything on there, so they didn't touch it at all, which obviously I prefer because sometimes dealers just honestly do not know what they're doing and they goop some crappy detail products on there just to make it look nice. And then it creates more work for somebody like me that details just to get all that stuff off first. So we're going to break this series up into 3 different videos. Obviously I can do one video, but it would be very, very long. So I figured I would break it up, make it a little bit more palatable. This video is going to be the decon stage, basically removing all the contaminants in the paint and getting it ready to polish. So we're going to be doing a strip wash, and then after that, we're going to be doing an iron removal step, and then following that, we're going to do an auto scrub just to get any of the remaining contaminants that may be on the paint in the pores before we get started with the polishing. Video 2 will be the full polish. And then video 3, we will get to actually ceramic coating. We're going to be using G-Technic CSL as well as XOV4, which is what I have on my car and I always use. Now, as for the Decon soap that I do use, I just use Dawn. You can use a Decon specific soap if you want. They are out there, but honestly, I've been using Dawn for years and it just strips whatever may be on the paint. It strips it off very, very easily. So that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using it on the paint, the wheels, everything, just to get a clean surface. It's just basically a deep, detailed wash. We're going to start on the wheels like I always do, and then work around the car and get it cleaned up. Let's go ahead, let's start on the wheels, get those cleaned up, and then we can start on the paint. Alright, so I got the driver's side wheels cleaned up. I just wanted to show you the difference. These things are beautiful. They're actually staggered. These are 19s in the front and then 20s in the rear. The 20s look very, very nice. It does sit really well. A nice spacer would bump it out and obviously be a little bit lower, but it's a really, really nice gloss black and it looks fantastic. The tire's a little bit too thin for my taste, but that is what you need to do with such a large wheel in the back. And obviously the front is like a monster truck. So some nice spacers in it lower would look amazing. But here's a clean wheel. And then we'll go over to the passenger side just to show you how dirty these things actually were. So look at that. The tires are all brown and everything and gross. And come back to the clean side. That looks much better. That is just a normal wheel wash that I do. So this thing is going to really transform. Even the paint, it does look clean on camera, but I assure you it's going to look insane when this is done. So I'm going to get the other wheels done and then we can hop on to the actual wash of the paint. Alrighty guys, so we got the wheels cleaned up. I'll just show you real quick. You already saw this side, but they look beautiful, all cleaned up. Super gloss black, very, very deep. Got this cleaned up and the front as well. I also clean the exhaust tips, which I normally do when I clean the wheels. Can't see them, but they're there and they're gloss black. So now what we're going to do is rinse it off just with the pressure washer, get all the loose contaminants off. Then once we get the car completely washed off with the power washer, we can go ahead and spray it down with some Dawn to strip anything that may be on this paint. So let's spray it down and then we'll move on to the actual wash. There you go. I wasn't kidding you. Dawn. So like I said, you can use an actual decontamination soap if you want, but this is a lot cheaper and you can get a lot of it. It does as good, if not better of a job than all those specific Decon soaps. So there's not anything on the paint right now. I can tell just by washing it or rinsing it off. I'm going to add a little bit more than I normally do. Just to make sure it gets super foamy and sticks to the paint really well, because I want it to sit there for a while and work on the paint and pull all the contaminants out. So I'm going to go ahead. I already actually filled up my buckets, so I'm going to go over here and just fill this up in the rinse bucket like that. All right, so now we're filled up. Now we're going to get the actual foam cannon part. Make sure it's all shaken up first. Nothing sitting on the bottom. And we can go ahead, spray this down, which is my favorite part. All right, so we got the car foamed down, so I'm just gonna let it sit and kind of work on the paint, pull any contaminants off, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the wash. Now, I'm using the exact same soap, the Dawn soap, for the wash as well. You don't wanna use anything that's going to put something on the paint, like a wash and wax or something like that. It's going to actually defeat the purpose of doing this step and deconning it and stripping everything down. So you wanna use something that's really aggressive, that's actually going to strip off any wax, sealants, anything like that. So I'm going to let this sit for 5-10 minutes and then we can go ahead and get the wash going. Alrighty, so we got the actual Decon, the wash finished. So now what we're actually going to do is do the iron removal. Now you can get specific products like Iron X and do the job, but what I use is actually the same stuff that I use on the wheels, which is PNS wheel and tire cleaner. It does the same exact thing. It pulls iron out. That seems to work very, very well and does a very good job at removing the iron. So we're gonna go ahead, spray the entire car down, let it sit for a little bit, then spray it off again. I really don't think I'm going to see much iron being pulled. You mainly see that on cars that were on the rail. This was by boat from Germany, so I doubt there's really going to be much. Usually it's on the back bumper, on the lower portions of the car, but I really don't see much happening around here. I'm going to let it sit for another 5 or 10 minutes or so, and then we're going to go ahead and rinse it off, and then we can get on to the actual auto scrub. All right, so we got the car rinsed off. Not much iron was pulling out, as I expected, since it did travel by boat. It wasn't on the rail or anything like that, so I really didn't see much. I saw a few kind of towards the back on the rear bumper. I saw a little bit on the pillar right here as well, but otherwise I let it sit for about 10-15 minutes, rinsed it off, and now we're ready to go on to the last step of decon, which is the auto scrub. This is my favorite thing to use. You can use a clay bar, whatever, but this is my favorite. This is a reusable clay bar. Basically, it's just a foam pad with a little rubber bottom that you can constantly reuse and clean off. You know, with a clay bar, once you use it, you got to toss it. This you can use over and over and over, which is fantastic. It's a little bit faster, not as effective as clay, but it does a really good job. And overall, I just prefer it since I hate claying cars, and this gets the job done very, very quickly. So let's go ahead, let's auto scrub the entire car, and then we're going to rinse it off once more, dry it off, and then we're gonna let it dry overnight. So there's not gonna be any water remnants at all on the paint before we start polishing tomorrow. For what actual solution you can use, actually clay lube or detail spray. I just prefer to use the same soap that I used to wash with. It keeps it nice and slick, and it does a good job, and you have a bunch of it and you don't run out. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the same Dawn dish soap that I used on the entire wash. Simply just going to dip it in so it's nice and lubed up, and then you just simply do that. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just wanna make sure you're constantly cleaning it off, so if you do pick up anything, it's not going to scratch the paint. So I'm gonna go around and do the entire car like this. Make sure it's nice and smooth. It's already in pretty good shape, but I can definitely feel a difference of the smoothness already from here and from where I haven't gone yet. So let me go ahead, go around the entire car. It should take about 20-25 minutes to get it done properly. We can rinse it off and dry it, and then we should be done with the decon stage and get ready for the actual paint correction. All right, so we are done with the decon phase. It's still wet, I need to dry it off. It's kind of a pain in the butt to dry off a car that has nothing on it since the water just seems to want to stay on the paint, but I'm happy that's done. That took close to 3.5-4 hours just to get that process done. If you want a really good result when you are detailing and paint correcting and ceramic coating and what have you, it's all in the prep. So the more time you put into it and the longer it takes for you and the more steps that you put into it, you're going to achieve a much better result. So if you think it's taking a long time and you're kind of over the decon process, you want to move on to the next step, I assure you, just take your time, split it up into a couple days. Don't try to get it done in 1 or 2 days. This is probably going to take me, honestly, probably 3 to 4 full days of work. So it's going to take some time, but I assure you it's going to turn out awesome. I can already tell right now, I have the light on this side. It's hard to see on camera, but this paint is absolutely beautiful and it's going to turn out insane. It looks white on camera, but in person it's a grayish blue. Brooklyn gray is what it's called. It's a beautiful color. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my leaf blower to dry off everything, get all the nooks and crannies, and then it's pretty warm in the garage, so it's going to hang out in here tonight. Any residual water is going to absorb overnight, and then we can be ready to polish tomorrow. And the car will be completely ready to go. So let me go ahead, dry it off, and then we can wrap this section up. All right, so I'm going around just drying it. I just wanted to mention it is an absolute pain in the butt to dry a car with nothing on it. I mean, literally, watch my hand. I've already dried this with my microfibers. You don't want to use a drying aid or anything like that because you would be putting something on the paint. This literally has nothing on the paint. So this is how good of a job Dawn does and just all the steps I just did. So watch my hand. Literally, it gets stuck. I'm moving it back and forth, nothing. So that just goes to show just how there's absolutely nothing on this paint. It looks really good on camera with the lights and everything, but I'm telling you, once I get this thing polished out and ceramic coated, it's gonna look insane. All right, so I'm actually just wrapping things up. I got the car completely dried off. Everything is good. I went around and just cleaned up the door jambs really quick since it was obviously wet from the wash. You guys didn't see me do this on camera. I did the engine bay. I really didn't need to do much. Normally I spray it down with the pressure washer to get all the dirt and everything out, but it's a brand new car and there really wasn't much, so I just went around and kind of wiped everything down. Then I put some Carbro Pearl on all the plastics to give it that nice rich deep black look. Doesn't leave it shiny. It gives a nice matte look, which looks really, really nice. So I'm gonna let that absorb overnight and then go ahead and wipe the excess off tomorrow. All right guys, so that wraps the decom process up. We are all finished. The car is all dried up. I actually have to shuffle every single car around, the STI, Telluride and my truck over there. I got to move everything, get it back in their parking spots for the night. Then we're going to jump back on this tomorrow with the paint correction. I'll go over the process and all that, everything I'm using. But if you are interested in any of the products that I did use in this video, I will leave it in the description below so you can pick up everything that you need to do a proper decon. But that's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions at all, be sure to ask them below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.